Hi everyone, welcome to Wine Wednesday with our movie review. I'm Kate Herschel. If you're new to this channel, we go over a movie, drink some wine, and talk about the movie. I'm sorry, my loyal followers, my trusted subscribers. I was missing last week. Some might say I was a gone girl. But it won't happen again. Perhaps I did it for the sake of this amazing joke. So, let's get started. Today we are drinking from a Jamestown wine glass. It's from Jamestown Settlement. Comment below, what wine are you drinking? It sounds like some of you also might, have a Trader Joe's in your area. We could be drinking the same wine if you get it. Well, cheers. Backstory with Gone Girl. I have seen Gone Girl before. Gone Girl is such a good movie. It's like one of the classics that if I haven't seen it in a couple years, I know I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch it. Before I go into it, spoilers, right when you start the movie, it has kind of a monologue with Nick petting his wife's hair, saying that he wants to kill her. What have they done to each other? So already it's kind of a morbid movie, that there's some problems obviously between him and his wife. They also introduced the movie kind of showing the town. I definitely think it gives a smaller town vibe, that it wouldn't be weird to know your high school friends. Obvious Nick, the husband, and Amy, the wife, have marital problems. Nick's complaining to his twin about their anniversary and how grueling it's gonna be. When his sister goes over, kind of the anniversary presents, Nick really hasn't done anything for Amy. It shows they're kind of losing interest with each other, etc. So you're kind of set the scene. Obviously there's problems. And then we get flashbacks in the movie. And I like that. It's from Amy's point of view from the beginning. It's, shows how cute and romantic they were. They're very witty with each other, and I think that's something important. Numerous times throughout the movie, you hear Amy and Nick say little remarks about how they had to constantly kind of keep up with each other. There are a couple things with Gone Girl, watching from my critiquing side, that I just think is so funny. Perhaps because I've never seen a storm of sugar from a bakery or something, but the fact that they make it so romantic that there's sugar falling all over and it looks like snow and it's so beautiful, I just don't see that happening. Maybe if it was flour, but does sugar float for a long time? I feel like you would have to be throwing it off a building for it to stay in the air long enough for that scene. But also, it would just fall and he touches her lips or something. I don't know. Before, this is very relevant, but he cleans sugar off her lips, and that's very cute. This sugar scene is very important to the plot of the movie, okay? So then, fast forwards to the future. Now it's from Nick's perspective, so he's not narrating it, but he gets a call. There are cats outside from the neighbor. He comes in to see what's going on, notices the table's broken and everything, calls the police when he can't find Amy. Is suspicious. Obviously, when the police come over, they're a little bit suspicious as well. It's an odd break-in. I think it's clear at this point the detectives think something's going on. Nick doesn't know anything about his wife's life. Basically, he says she has no friends. He doesn't know what she does for a job. She doesn't have a job. She likes to read. If you were to ask me about one of my roommates or something's life, I think I could be able to add a lot to the story. I don't think this is, oh, the man must have killed his wife worthy. That being said, I definitely think it's weird for sure. I personally really like the detective and cop pair. I think they're goofy and funny. They end up finding out that Amy really does have a friend that's in the neighborhood. One of her neighbors comes up and says that Amy and her are friends. There's an envelope marked clue. And in the beginning of the movie, we heard that Amy sends Nick on scavenger hunts for their anniversary. The detectives bring it up to Nick and go, hey, this is a little weird. Can you tell me what this means? And he finds out that it leads to his office. They get clue number 2. He says he doesn't know where clue number 2 goes. Nick does know where clue number 2 goes. It goes to his dad's house. So he goes over there secretly, except he sets off the security alarm and he can't turn it off. There shows up the detective and the cop. Or maybe they're both detectives. I'm so sorry if they're both detectives. But there comes the detectives. I'll promote him to a detective if he's not a detective already. And so both the detectives come in there and they're like, hey, what's going on? And he realizes he's probably getting followed. All he does is grab the clue card and puts it in his pants. So then he walks out, The clues make me think either she has left hints of how she's died or something's going on and Nick doesn't understand any of it. Whatever it is, I definitely don't think Nick understands the clues because he wouldn't have lied to the cops if he wanted the cops to know what was at that house. A little background. If you don't understand The Amazing Amy, so basically her parents wrote childhood books and kind of plagiarized her childhood. Amy has not necessarily resentment towards her parents, but she doesn't have the best relationship in the sense of that, she's frustrated that Amazing Amy got everything and just regular Amy didn't. With Nick, it felt like she was living that fairy tale life. He proposed to her on the same day that the Amazing Amy got married, book launch, blah, blah, blah. She also was given a trust fund of money because of the amount they made off the books. And so everything, the house, the bar, everything is in Amy's name. That does offer a motive, and also he hates her, I guess. Then in our flashbacks, keep in mind, remember, the Amy and Nick flashbacks have been beautiful, romantic, loving. But there becomes a turn, there's a recession, Nick's mother passes away, and so you start to feel the stress on their relationship. A recession's hard, losing your job is hard, having a family member pass away, moving is hard, and all of this is happening to Amy and Nick at the same time. The biggest thing I took away, for at least when Amy gave some of her trust fund back to her parents, and Nick said it was your call, and kind of says oh, it's your choice. And I think that kind of shows right there that Nick already has a problem with the fact that his wife is paying for kind of their livelihood. She comes home, Nick got laid off, she's laid off, he buys a new laptop, he buys a new video game. I don't think Nick's the greatest person, okay? I think Nick kind of sucks. I mean, he looks like a slob. She comes home, he has video games out, he bought a new laptop, and you don't have any money. So why is he spending the money? I'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing there, buddy? Amy, I'm team Amy, okay? We'll see if this changes, but Amy, gold star. I would return everything. I mean, you're playing video game, returned. New laptop, returned. I mean, if you want to write, you can use a pencil. I mean, writing's hard, don't get me wrong, but writing, you could write about the recession. You could write about why it's a problem. I mean, I don't know, but he could definitely be working somehow. And then sell the book when there's no more recession. Write 8 books during the recession and then publish them. I don't know. All I know is Nick kind of sucks right now. We hate Nick. Team hate Nick. The sister goes, Nick, do I know everything? Nick is like, yeah. And that's when we find out that he has a mistress. Hypothetically, I am sleeping with a married man, and I'm very aware of who his wife is, and I see the wife goes missing. Would I see the man ever again? No. Would I tell the police right away? Wait. Okay, so he's been calling her this whole time too. And she's like, I couldn't answer because I had acting. It's all over the news. We're in a small town and your boyfriend's wife's missing, and you're like, oh my God, I'm in a play. I'm so busy. I'm sorry. I mean, I would probably not be calling back because I'd be like, you are potentially a murderer. And she's like, oh, it's the last time we're gonna sleep together. Yeah, I hope, because you're moving. At this point, who would say they have a good relationship? I mean, it sounds like Amy was never brought around their friends, so it sounds like none of Nick's friends know Amy. His sister would definitely say they don't have a good relationship. It sounds like the Amy's parents wouldn't say they have a good relationship. I mean, at this point, why would anyone think that Nick wouldn't want Amy dead? Now Nick finds in the shed outside all of the wonderful, wonderful things that were charged on the credit card. Amy set him up. He flipped to Amy, first day gone, and she's going down the road, throwing sticky notes or whatever out the window. She's having her best life. She's hanging out. She just framed her husband for murder. What Amy does is she has some money. She gets a rental car. She reserves like a motel room. I don't know. It seems like a little bit different than a motel. It looks like kind of camping, but not. Amy and her neighbor, they sit by the pool sometimes. So Amy and her neighbor are becoming a little close, right? So remember when I told you the sugar storm is the most important part of the story? Apparently when Amy decided to hatch her entire scheming plan, it was actually snowing, and Nick kisses his girlfriend and he goes and like she lost her mind. Amy is watching the news, and now it's kind of like showing that everyone's on the same page. The woman that Amy's kind of hanging out with, she says like, oh, Amy sounds really stuck up and blah, blah, blah. And Amy like spits in her pop when she's not looking. So it shows that Amy has her own kind of mind of punishment. The way Amy approaches situations is she thinks that, again, kind of like the hand for a hand method. You know, if someone says something mean, they're going to have something mean done to them. A consistent trend of what we're seeing now and what we're going to find out later with Amy's life is that she believes justice needs to be brought in her own hands, and she's going to decide what justice is. Amy kind of has a consistent thing of framing people. And so Nick is going around and he says, hey, this is what I heard of the past, that you raped Amy. And he's asking the guy about it, and the guy is like, I never did that. She came over, said she wanted it rough, and she went to the hospital, and she had like consistent like it looked like he had raped her. This is starting to make Nick go, okay, so I'm not the first person she's framed multiple people. Then, unfortunately for Amy, she is playing a game of miniature golf, which is one of the best sports ever. Should be an Olympic sport. Miniature golf is one of the best games ever. So, Amy's playing miniature golf, and she gets the ball in the hole, and she jumps, and money falls out. The noises and the looks that these two other hooligans see when they see her money, I'd be moving. I wouldn't clean up the place. I'd move. Like, head on out, sister. She still stays, and guess what? She ends up getting robbed. Obviously, she's in disarray, so she calls her ex-boyfriend. She's like, please, I need help. I was so terrified for my life. Help me. At this point, she's in deep. She's in pretty deep. I guess I don't really know her plan here. Was her plan to stay with this man for the rest of her life? I have no idea. She is watching Nick's pretty much like appearance that's talking to Amy. And he's saying, I didn't do enough. I should have been 24/7 with you. I should have tried harder. And at this point, for me, like, Amy's a real psychopath. I know. I think faking her murder should have been enough to make me come to this realization. Okay, remember, you faked your death for this man. And you hear that he wants you back, okay? He wants to be with you again. That's all you have to hear to come back. You faked your death. She's a psychopath. When that guy who was framed for rape, when he was explaining it, he just like backed off Amy, and she was like, you aren't gonna give me any space. I'm going to make it look like you raped me. Maybe I should be more empathetic to Nick. Our crazy woman isn't done. She's about to prove herself once again. For the life of me, I just want to call him Barney. And he wears a suit. So Barney from How I Met Your Mother, he's like leaving, and Amy's like now being all attracted to him, and she's trying to seduce him, messes up his shirt and his hair, and she's like, that's how the kids wear it. He leaves. Amy knows there's video cameras everywhere, so then she like starts to be where the cameras are and cry. And then when Barney comes home, she like seduces him. She slits his throat, and it's like so much blood on her. She's like, oh, okay, Nick loves me now. Oh my God, she's so stupid. She knows he knows. I mean, there's no way. She left the clues. She made them easy enough. And so why the woman who thought of like making herself bleed, faking her pregnancy, becoming friends with a local buffoon, how did she think that Nick was like, I was framed for murder? Amy, please come home. Comes to the house covered in blood, and the news reporters are seeing this and everything. I'll tell you something. It's kind of hard to give reviews when you're drinking wine. So anyway, she comes home. She's like, Nick, I love you so much. And Nick's like, are you psycho? And so then she goes to the hospital, gets everything checked out. Of course, you know, they say it's rape and everything. She had to protect herself with self-defense. Our wonderful detective friend, like, she's beautiful, wonderful, amazing. She's questioning the story. She knows there's something up. But you know what? Amy doesn't care. She goes, you could have thrown my husband in jail. And the detective is like, and the chief is like, shut up. We don't want to hear from you, detective. And Amy's like, exactly. I know. I'm feeling faint. I need to go home to my husband. And then Nick is like, hey, what the heck is going on? And she's like, to the shower. We must go shower now. And Nick is like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to shower now to get my answers. She's like, oh, I have to make sure you're not wearing a wire. Cute relation stuff, you know. We wish we all had it. And then she's like, I want that Nick. I want that Nick I saw on TV. The one that tries 24/7. And she's like, you can't leave me now. You're stuck with me forever. What does she mean? Why can't they leave? Why can't, like, who cares? But people will spit on you in the grocery store. You're not living in the same house as someone who tried to frame you for murder, but also you know that she has the capability to murder someone and come home soaked in their blood. Clink. They planned the best movie, and I think they have a great ending, but I also think the ending only works if everyone's an idiot. Maybe they're all idiots. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. I mean, it's well done. I think everyone should watch it at least once. I hope you enjoyed my Leprechaun.